Hi, I am Lanre Ajayi, and I'm reaching you now on channel 1973.1 DT on people, places, and events. This is My City Speaks to Me, the Calgary edition, from around my beautiful city of Calgary in Alberta, Canada. Today, I'm in Kainai First Nation, the Blood Tribe Reserve, about 20 minutes south of Fort Macleod, on a learning journey to listen and to amplify Indigenous voices. This month of June is National Indigenous History Month, and it's an honor to be invited to witness an age-long tradition of branding of cattle. In honor of the spirit of this month, I'm dedicating this episode of My City Speaks to Me to celebrating and appreciating First Nations communities, values, and identities across Canada. Knowledge, they say, is power, and that is why I came all the way from Calgary to connect with knowledge gatekeepers, to bring you the benefits of cultural knowledge as well as ceremonial practices of many nations. On behalf of my team, I want to thank the good people of Kainai First Nation for inviting me to witness this unique tradition, especially Elder Treffy Deerfoot. We are grateful for the many lessons we've received over the years and invite you to join us as we continue to grow and learn. In this episode, I'll bring you time-honored practice that is alive and well, where you have the opportunity to learn about the richness and strength of Indigenous values, ceremonies, and practices, celebrating and honoring Indigenous identities, seeking guidance from elders and knowledge keepers, cultivating vital connections and relationships with Indigenous families and communities. As a firm believer in the Indigenous cultures across many nations, I invite you to stay with me as we connect, uplift, and learn from Indigenous leaders and nations. We'll be right back. Still on My City Speaks to Me here at the Kainai First Nations, still celebrating the National Indigenous History Month. I've got a wonderful lady here, Tricia Rose, all the way from Calgary. We travel miles and miles to come here to, identify with our Indigenous brothers and sisters, and it's an honor for me to have you on this show. How are you, Tricia?
I'm good, thank you so much.
So we're here today to witness an age-long tradition about cattle branding.
Yes.
What do you know about that?
Only what I've read in romance novels.
Okay, so share with our audience.
Okay, so actually, originally, as a young lady, I loved to read romance novels, historical novels, and there was always something about cowboys and Indigenous people. Of course, that wasn't the term that they used, and cattle branding happened to be in one of the novels that I read. So I have a little knowledge via reading.
Okay, so can you just share a bit of the knowledge, even though we're going to get an elder to talk more about that, but from your own experience, from what you read, tell our audience what you know about that.
All I know is they get up on these horses that are well trained, and they jump on these cattle, wrestle them down, and somebody comes up with a brand that's already heated. Of course, in the historical novels, it's put it in the fire, heat it up, and brand. And that is my extent of knowledge in branding.
Wow, amazing. Now, we're here on this ranch. When you first arrived, what was that thing what struck you, What do you think about this kind of environment? Living the hustle and bustle of the city. What do you feel when you come to places like this?
Truthfully, it was so quiet, and it felt like I was back in Jamaica.
Wow.
Just the view and the calm, it was like coming home.
Coming home, that's amazing. For many Indigenous communities, this practice dates back to when their ancestors, after the colonial masters arrived, they used to identify their animals so as to guide against theft. I have one of the Indigenous elders here with me to talk extensively about this tradition. Still on My City Speaks to Me, the Calgary edition here at the Kainai First Nation, the Blood Reserve. Now, I told you earlier on that I had the privilege of being invited here by the amiable Elder Treffy Deerfoot to witness an age-long tradition of cattle branding. and I did a bit of explanation. But you know, in my country, you know, there's this saying that it is from the mouth of the traditional gatekeeper that you get to hear the real truth. So, Dr. Referee, how are you?
I'm good, very good. Good afternoon, Laurie.
Thank you very much for inviting me here, and I see a lot of folks here coming together. This is an amazing. I love this place. The ambience, peaceful, serene.
Yes.
So we're here to witness this tradition of cattle branding.
Yes.
Please tell our audience when this started and the importance of doing cattle branding.
Okay. Well, prior to European contact, colonial life, we were horsemen, and you've seen the horses in the pasture here. And then there was, when they were trying to build this country, they were building the railway. And as they were building the railway, they started to make treaties with my relatives. And not really thinking that they were going to honor these treaties, but they made these treaties with they wanted to bring the golds to the markets to the east. And at that time, this was all Rupert's land. The Queen had kind of designated this as a certain part of British monarchy, if you say. And our people, the buffalo was being harvested at an alarming rate, and you could see images of these. And the buffalo was our main staple in our life. It provided us our clothing, our shelter, and our food, our utensils. All part of that animal was utilized. And because of the disappearance of the bison, we were allocated cattle, a new commodity that my relatives mastered. They mastered this animal. And part of the activity today will be ear tagging, and then in today's modern technology, we have the barcodes in the other ear, so we're able to identify, and it's a form of, in traditional times there used to be cattle rustling, and then now in today we still brand them, marking them. And my brand is something like a napi. It's a circle with a diamond facing down to the T. And that represents, my brand, and it's identifiable amongst people within. There's a lot of people that are ranchers, and a lot of people own horses also. So this is a part of it. So today I've invited a numerous amount of friends to come and help me. We're probably doing just over 60 head of calves. 60 head of calves, and we probably got the same amount of cows.
At what age do you know when a cattle is ready to be branded? Because I'm assuming that when they're still young, do you brand them when they're still young or when they get to a certain age?
Well, a lot of the things, you don't want to have too many bulls. And in that case, they're constantly fighting, and their energy is all put into that. But if you do cutting of those animals and you neutralize and make them into steers, they intend to gain more weight more rapidly. And so they grow weight more rapidly, and they're not as aggressive. And this is when you're selling them as a beef market, then people are more inclined to buy a steer instead of an angry bull. So today we'll be dehorning some of these cows, but you still want to keep a few because the horns help if there's coyotes or any other kind of animal encroaching into the pastures. These animals are able to fight back.
Wow, amazing.
So they're a herd animal, and it's the same way. In traditional times, we used to harvest a buffalo, and these young warriors would wrap themselves around little baby buffalo robes, buffalo calves, and they would go in amongst the herd and they would make distress sounds, and the immediate reaction from the females and the other buffalo is to surround them, circle them, to protect them. And then these young men who were making distress sounds would run towards the cliffs. And as they got to the cliffs, there would be ropes that would swing them under the cliffs, and the buffalo would go over the top and my relatives would be harpooning them and arrowing these, and they would begin a big harvest and a big celebration. So this is kind of the same essence. We're celebrating, you know, the new birth, and we're celebrating. This year I'm going to sell 100 head of cows.
Wow.
And I give back to the food bank and to the shelter, and that's part of, you know, my own want to contribute
to the community, to make the community better. And it's an honor because this month is National Indigenous, you know, month, you know, History Month, to celebrate Indigenous month, and that is why it's kind of very, you know, much more interesting and much more, you know, fulfilling for me to be here, you know, at the Kainai, you know, First Nation, and then to, you know, share this celebration with you and with all the friends invited.
Yes, yes. We opened our beaver bundle last week and a half ago, and that's all part of it, you know, the rebirth of not only the cattle, but nature. Nature has its way. We had lots of rain. You could see it all over the ranch.
It's all wet,
Yeah, and that's part of renewal. It gives a chance for things to start growing.
A new beginning.
New beginning. So this is all a part of it, and it's a celebration. So I invite my friends to come and join me with this. Yeah.
As we end this episode, I just want to say a word of prayer to our audiences who are watching from around the world. Say a word of prayer for them.
Okay, well, I'll say something in my language. That's where I feel the most connected.
Yes.
Oyos bed biank sach gunoch dais tapi o gamok takka dutuk sawak. O gachensi kanasuka pi o ki kha bestutsi pinana ki bed pisen. O nog kochto kinske awatsim iskaiks. O kitsis mochsa o bestaan gnens katsmatoch panks tsikoi. Achoksuka pi o matsta po khappinan dapta khapinani dama pi. O gachna suka biaksak pe paskeks o ga awatsemuiskeks aniks nog kanei puyanaksetsko o ki me samerpel ki peppustoin na pioisen hi.
Thank you very much, sir. We'll be right back. Still on My City Speaks to Me here at the Kainai First Nation, the Blood Tribe. Now behind me, you know, they're setting up the eating system, getting ready for the branding. Now one thing is important, when Elder Treffy was talking, said something about a particular sign. So each of the owners of the cattle have a particular symbol that distinguishes them from another in case they get mixed up, maybe by, you know, taking them around for grazing. So with those signs and those branding, you can easily identify them.
Your pants dirty, like. You gotta go to a wedding. You gotta brand them? It'll be wet. Where do you want to set up there?
How old is this horse?
You know, what's this guy? I'm not sure. I'm gonna guess. Tell by the teeth.
Oh.
I'm gonna say 12.
12 years. Wow. So big. It's big. So what is going on now is sorting of the cattle in different, you know, categories. The big ones, the small ones have been sorted, you know, in different kind of compartments. So they know the small, the big, and they put them, you know, in different categories so that by the time they want to do the branding, they will know the ones that is going to go first.
Crank 'em. Teach 'em. There you go.
Hi, I'm Haley Shade. I'm from the Blood Tribe Reserve. And today we're doing about 30 cattle. We do this every year. We come around reserves and help ranchers. And yeah.
My name is Montana Shade Youngpine.
We're both from the Blood Reserve. Today we're going to be branding about 30 head of cattle. And she castrates. I do the 8-way, give penicillin, antibiotics, and tags. And that's what we do around the reserve.
Yeah.
So this is castration of the bulls. This is the process of branding. They first tag them by the ears, and then they castrate them, and then they brand them.
Laurie, you're next.
No.
How much? Careful on you after.
Still on my city speak to me, the Calgary edition here at the Kainai First Nation, the Blood Tribe, and you witness the process, you know, how the cattle gets tagged by the hair, castrated, and then branded so that they can differentiate them, you know, from any other cattle. And each of these cattle, you know, they are branded in a particular, you know, symbol of the owners. And then the yellow tags actually make them identifiable, you know, they are from the Alberta government. So when it's time for them to sell them, you know, with the yellow tags, they can really, you know, they can actually identify them as these are cattle from Alberta. And this is where I draw the curtain on today's episode of My City Speaks to Me here at the Kainai First Nations. It's been an awesome experience witnessing this age-long tradition. And I want to say that thank you very much for hanging out with me on this episode of My City Speaks to Me, the Calgary edition. As always, I encourage you to check out my YouTube channel, subscribe if you haven't done so, and leave a comment on my page to know that you stopped by. And until I come your way again with an amazing episode of My City Speaks to Me from around Canada. Yes, saying, be good, be well. And like I do it on this show, don't move a muscle, stretch. See you around. Bye for now. Enjoy.